All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Nithin Ramachandra from the NR Media NR Sports Show. Happy Thursday. We have a really special episode today, so please tune in. Fans, we are live on IR Radio, Spotify, on all the podcast platforms, and we're also live on our Spreaker app on my phone, where fans can tune in, put their questions in. As always, when you ask questions to our guests, so everybody knows about the Spreaker app. But today we have a really special guest. His name is Leigh Steinberg. He's a well-known agent in the sports business. He's an author. His book is called The Agent. Everyone, please go check that out. His book is one of the best, in my opinion, when it comes to books, best-selling. And then also, he's done a lot of things with high-profile athletes, and he's well known for the movie Maguire. Whoever doesn't know about that movie, it's a well-known sports movie out there. So whoever didn't see that, please check that movie out, Maguire. But Leigh Steinberg, one of the best agents in my opinion. He represented Patrick Mahomes during his NFL draft time, and we'll get to all of that, his journey, his career, how he became an agent. And Leigh, I just want to say thank you to your assistant, Alex, for setting this up. It's truly an honor to learn more about your story. So, Leigh, I just want to say thank you for joining. How are you and your family doing? Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you. Everything's great. Nice to be with you.
Yeah, thank you. So, Leigh, start off with your journey. How did you get into the sports industry, and especially being an agent? I know it's kind of tough. Whoever wants to be an agent is tough to get into, but what was your story behind it?
Well, I grew up in Los Angeles, went to UCLA for a year, then transferred to Cal Berkeley in the raucous days of the 1960s. And I ended up student body president, and the governor of California was Ronald Reagan. And every time we protest, he cracked down. So I learned everything I needed to learn about the art of negotiating from dealing with Governor, later President Reagan. And I was a dorm counselor in an undergraduate dorm, and they moved the freshman football team into the dorm. And so I was a dorm counselor for Steve Bartkowski, the quarterback on the football team, and he ended up in 1975 being the very first pick in the first round of the NFL draft.
Wow.
And he asked me to represent him. And there really wasn't much of a field of agentry then. A team could just slam the phone down and say, we don't deal with agents. But we got lucky. We got the largest rookie contract in NFL history. And when we landed in Atlanta, I saw the tremendous idol worship and veneration that athletes are held in communities across the country, how they're the movie stars and celebs. And I thought, I had a dad who brought me up with two core values. One was treasure relationships, especially family. And the second was to try to make a meaningful difference and help people who were in pain or couldn't help themselves. So I talked to athletes about retracing their roots and going back to the high school that helped shape them, setting up a scholarship fund or working with the church or Boys and Girls Club, and at the university community, bonding with those alums and doing another program. And then at the pro level, a charitable foundation attacking some problem that would have the leading business figures, political figures, and community leaders on a board to execute it. So it's work done putting the 200th single mother and her family into the first home of her own. So that was 50 years ago, and here we are.
Wow. Yeah, and throughout your 41-year career, you represented over 300 athletes, and especially football, baseball, basketball, Olympic sports. But I want to talk. You mentioned Work Done. Talk about him real quick, because he has a really good foundation. Work Done Charities. He does a lot of work with people giving houses and everything. So talk about him. What's it like seeing him, his growth as a player, but now doing amazing things off the field for his career?
So I'm more proud of the fact that our players have raised almost somewhat over $1 billion for various charities. Work was brought up by a single mother. They had some struggles, and so he created a program called Homes for the Holidays. And what it did is he would put the down payment and move a single mother and her family into the first home she'd ever owned by making the down payment and then outfitting the home. So this has been almost 200 families. As a matter of fact, the quarterback, Deshaun Watson, actually lived in one of the houses that were funded. So you can see the direct impact that it had. But athletes pick something in their own lives they'd like to tackle. And with Patrick Mahomes, it's kids at risk, kids in hospitals, kids in underserved communities. But it's an athlete using that high profile that they have to trigger imitative behavior.
Yeah. So tell our fans, we are live with Leigh Steinberg. Everyone, please tune in and Leigh, talk about like in every like a journey in agents. Like, what is your routine as an agent each day? Because especially representing multiple athletes at the same time. So how did you go about the business, and what was your routine throughout the day?
So there really are three aspects to representing athletes. The first is recruiting.
Yeah.
And if you have the top athletes, I've had 64 first-round draft picks, and the very first pick in the NFL draft 8 times, and in baseball about 50 first-round draft picks, and some in basketball. So that first part is listening skills, honing your listening skills, being able to draw out another human being and figure out what their deepest anxieties and fears are and their greatest hopes and dreams. And the second part then is preparing someone for the draft from college to pros, and then negotiating a contract. And the third part is dealing with their day-to-day issues. So my involvement would be everything from planning a charitable activity to helping someone go higher, hopefully in the draft, to negotiating their contract, to working on endorsements, to focusing them on second career so that they go on in their success in business or politics or entertainment or media or coaching.
Wow. Yeah, so you mentioned 8 times number 1 overall pick in NFL draft, and that's like a record. So what does that mean to you when they say number 1 pick 8 times, which is an NFL record? What does that mean to you?
Well, probably in football representation, there's about 3 things you can do that are really special. And one is to have the first pick overall in the draft, and one is to have the winning quarterback in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And lastly, have players go to the Hall of Fame. So we have 12 players in the Hall of Fame: Troy Aikman, Warren Moon, Steve Young, Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas, a variety of players. And Warren Moon, who was with me for 23 years and played for Houston and Minnesota after his Canadian start, had me present him at the Hall of Fame, so that was a high moment.
All right, so we do have a fan question here. So one of our fans wants to know, you went to University of California, so they want to know what did you learn from that college, and what did you take out of that experience at University of California?
Well, that was a very different time because the whole culture of the country was changing, and it was long hair and tie-dye and different philosophies and herbal substances and rock music, and it was a very different time. I think what I really learned was mostly in student politics, which is psychology, the study of why people act the way they do, whether you can predict their behavior, whether you can influence their behavior, because everything at the end of the day, except in the fields of science and math and engineering, comes down to relationships between people.
Yes, it's talk about the movie Jerry Maguire. You had a big influence on that movie. So tell our fans, how did that come about? And Jerry Maguire is still one of the most popular movies out there. So talk about that. What was the big influence in there?
So a writer-director, Cameron Crowe, called me and told me he was doing a movie that would center on a sports agent, and could he shadow me and follow me around and pick up the atmosphere and characters that are in that field. So he went to the 1993 NFL draft where I had the first pick. He came up to the press conference we had with Bill Parcells. He came to the NFL league meetings, where I was showing off free agents. He came to Super Bowl parties, Super Bowl games, came to games with me, and sat in my thing. And so he went off and wrote the script, and then I was technical advisor. So I had to vet the script to make sure the willing suspension of disbelief that holds you in a motion picture didn't get broken.
Yeah.
And then he assigned me actors like Cuba Gooding Jr., who I took down to the Super Bowl in Arizona and made him pretend he was my wide receiver client for a whole week.
Wow.
So I put him in role. And so it's been 25 years, and I can't walk through an airport or go out to dinner without someone walking up and saying those 4 words that start with "Show me the."
One. Yeah, that's the best thing about that movie. And then Jerry Maguire is I mean, that movie is, I learned a lot from the movie when I watched it. I learned a lot from that. And we have another fan question for you. They want to know some of your best moments throughout your career. I'm sure you had a lot of great moments, but they want to know some of your best moments throughout your career.
Troy Aikman winning the first of 3 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first time I'd had a winning quarterback, and we're in the limo on the way back from the game, and Troy, do you realize what you just did? He said, yes, we won the game. I said, no, your life's changed forever. You walked into that stadium, you were Troy Aikman, good quarterback, and you walk out Troy Aikman, superstar. And then Steve Young had been in the shadow of Joe Montana for years and years. And he went down and played in the Super Bowl in Miami against the Chargers. And he threw 6 touchdown passes. And like any younger brother with an older brother who's really accomplished, he couldn't get recognized for himself. And so he ran up to me after the game and said, "The monkey's off my back. The monkey's off my back." I think sitting at a banquet with Warren Moon and knowing that when he asked how many people went to school on my scholarships,
yeah,
and you saw a whole room stand up, then it became palpable the difference that you could potentially make in the world. And I think the fact I've held all the concussion conferences trying to get to the bottom of prevention, awareness, and cure. So to conceptualize more than just putting dollars in a player's bank book, but protecting their health.
Yeah, speaking of, you brought up Troy Aikman and Steve Young, and you successfully negotiated a $3 billion contract, $3 billion contract with Troy Aikman, Steve Young, and Patrick Mahomes. How did you do that? And take us to that process.
I think it's having great players is the key. I mean, they have to perform, and so being associated with great players, and then understanding that negotiation is a process where you're trying to get in the heart and mind of the other human being and see the world the way they see it, the way a general manager or an owner sees it, and trying to work out a win-win scenario where we achieve our goals, but so does the team, and people walk away happy.
Yeah, and I want to get to when you were in your early years, you earned a BA political science and a JD in UC Berkeley. So talk about that the moment of your career when you earned the political BA and then the JD.
Well, there was nothing to aspire to. I thought I was going to be work for the Alameda County DA's office and probably go into politics and the rest of it. But along came Bartkowski, and all of a sudden, I've been a lawyer all these years, but it's sports law, and I realized that trying to make a difference in the world, I could do more because of the role modeling of the athletes. So when I helped the heavyweight boxer Lennox Lewis. He cut a public service announcement that said, "Real men don't hit women."
Mm.
That could do more to trigger imitative behavior around the subject of domestic violence than 1,000 authority figures ever could. So I saw the impact of it and stayed in it.
We have another fan question for you. They want to know, what advice would you give to someone who wants to be in the sports agency world? What advice would you give them?
It doesn't really matter what you take in school. As I said, study psychology, understand why people act the way they do, hone your listening skills. Can you draw out another human being and drop below the surface so you're not dealing with surface responses, but you get in, again, their deepest anxieties and fears and their greatest hopes and dreams. And you don't have to be an attorney. Different sports have different qualifications. In football, it requires an undergrad degree and then a post-grad degree. But it could be a master's in anything. And then signing up and taking a very tough test on the collective bargaining agreement. And we do agent academies. We have one coming up in Las Vegas in April, and we've got one at the University of Oregon in May. And at them, so keep your eyes open on steinbergspeaks.com, because we teach how to negotiate, how to recruit, how to market and brand, how to put a charitable foundation together, how to do damage control, and what the economics are and the challenges and tips. And so I've probably done that course 35 times and trained thousands of people. So you might want to focus on that. And then my book, The Agent, my 40-year career changing deals and making deals and changing the game.
Yeah, speaking of the book, The Agent, what's it like to have that book where people can read about your story and how you became one of the best sports agent there? So how did that book come about, and what's that been like for you to have that book?
Well, the first book I wrote was Winning with Integrity, which was the 12 essential steps of negotiating. And so after that, then I wrote an autobiography that sort of traced me from being a young kid in Los Angeles, growing up in the 50s to now. And so that led to that. Now I'm working on a third book, which will be called The Comeback. And I'm been having writer's block, but I'm sure I'll get there soon.
Yeah, so I want to get to Patrick Mahomes. You were there during his draft process, and talk about that. What was that experience like, being with him and his family? And did you expect the Chiefs to trade up and get him like that in the first round?
So I don't think there's anything more exciting in the life of people in football than the draft, because you have all the hopes and dreams, all the people in somebody's life, when they're not at the site itself, but they're in their living room with cousins and uncles and college teammates and coaches and their family. It's and the tension ratchets up, and then all of a sudden, boom. And the important thing about that was that Patrick went to a quality organization. And if you want to gauge success, look at the owner, look at the general manager, look at the coach. They ought to have drafts for them. But he went to a place that allowed him to take his almost larger-than-life skill and maximize it. So that moment when the phone call comes is just pure joy.
Well, and look at it, that 2-time Super Bowl champion and back in the playoffs, playing great. And actually, I had the opportunity to interview his father. His father is amazing, and the whole family is amazing. So he is truly a rare player to have in that league. And so a couple more things before we let you go. We have another fan question for you. They want to know. So I saw that you were connected with Jim Harbaugh. So they want to know, What was it like seeing him winning the championship this year with Michigan?
It was wonderful. I represented Jim. I'm not doing his pro career.
Yeah.
But I represented him as a player with the Chicago Bears and the Indianapolis Colts and San Diego Chargers, and and he was always a lot of fun to represent. He had a really keen sense of humor. He wasn't the dour person you see on the sidelines, and he was a lot of fun. And when all the scandal came up, I never saw him ever try to do something outside the line. So I had a hard time believing that he would do that. He's hyper competitive, but he's the son of a coach.
Yeah.
So it was always within the lines, within the system.
So in this generation is all about the youth, and you were involved with the youth big time with the Human Relations Commission, also Children's Miracle Network, and a couple foundations, Special Olympics, Juvenile Diabetes Foundation, and everything. So what was it like being part of the youth? Because now in this generation, it's all about the youth also.
We want to train the next generation, and it's why we do sports career conferences, where you could work for a team, a league, a conference, an athletic department, sports marketing, media, training, so we hold these and we bring young people together with the industry experts, and then the agent academy. So I want to train the next generation of ethical, principled sports agents who know that they can make a difference in their clients' lives, but additionally, they together can work to make it a nicer world.
Wow. So before we let you go, would you like to say anything to all the fans out there, to our fans, or would you like to say anything?
Just know that my father used to have a saying that if you're looking for someone to fix a problem, as small as picking up a piece of paper trash off the floor, or as large as racism, and he'd say, if you're waiting around for the them and they to solve the problem, you could wait forever. He would say, the they is you, son. You're the they. So I know there are people out there with a vision of what they'd like the world to be and how they can impact it, and I encourage them.
Yeah, so where can our fans find you on social media?
I tweet or X at Leigh Steinberg. Our email is, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and all your usual suspects.
Well, there you have it. Thank you to our fans for tuning in and asking questions also. And Leigh Steinberg, thank you for joining the show. Like I said, one of the best sports agents to ever do it, 41-year career. He has a book out there, The Agent. He has 2 books out there, and he's coming out with the 3rd book. So keep a look out for that. And he's well known with the movie Jerry Maguire. He's done a lot of great work with a lot of great athletes. And Leigh, thank you for joining. And tell your assistant Alex that thank you for setting this up, and truly an honor. And we'll send everything to you guys, the links to everything. So everybody, please tune in and look for these links to come out. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.